Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and kick things off, just so we don't take up too much of your time. If anybody joins late, you can catch our recording, which we'll be posting on YouTube and I believe on our website after this. But we'll just get started with some intros. My name is Emma Paris-Stoyer. I'm the Executive Director of Union Hall. My pronouns are she, her.
Hello, I'm Jess Diaz. I'm the Gallery and Marketing Manager at Union Hall. Pronouns are also she, her.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna just take some time. I have a little deck that I'll pull up. I'm gonna go give a little bit of background information on Union Hall and the Rough Gems program in case you haven't been to our space before and are new to learning about the program. We'll give a little bit of background information. We will talk a little bit about the application process, and I'm gonna try and move through all of that fairly quickly, and we'll leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end. If you have any questions that come up throughout, please feel free to leave them in the chat and we will either get them to them in the moment or towards the end when we're doing Q&A. But feel free to leave those in there at any time. And Jess will also be helping with answering some questions if she's able to help with that in the chat. Okay, I'm just gonna pull up our deck. Bear with me because technology is not my strong suit.
You got this.
Thanks, Jess. Awesome. Can you see us okay, Jess?
Yeah, it looks good for me. But if anybody else can't see it that's watching, let us know.
Yeah, just shoot us a message. Great. So yeah, this is our info session for our 2025 Rough Gems program. Applications are now open for the Rough Gems program, and the deadline is Friday, September 20th at midnight. Let's wait for this to move. So a little bit of background on our organization. Union Hall was founded in 2019, and we support diverse emerging artists and creatives in the Denver community. We host 7 visual art exhibitions each year. 3 of those are through the Rough Gems program. We also host over 50 events a year, and it's a range of programming, ranging from artist talks and opening receptions to panel discussions, performances. We host monthly yoga in our space. So really trying to bring in a lot of different artistic disciplines and provide some resources for the community at the same time. Our main values at Union Hall are innovation, inclusivity, impact, and inspiration. And this is a little image of the outside of our space. I'm in here right now. In case you haven't been to our space before, we are located in the lower downtown neighborhood, right near Union Station in Denver, and we're in the interior of this residential building. All of our walls are this dark gray color, and they are always that color. You can see in the image, sometimes we will paint an accent wall, but all of the walls in our space are usually this dark gray. So our Rough Gems program, this program has been around pretty much since the beginning of Union Hall. We developed this program as a way to provide a resource for emerging curators in the Denver area, and we use that term very broadly. We don't think that a curator has to be somebody with a PhD in art history or somebody who has engaged in curation at a high level with major art institutions. If you're interested at all in organizing an exhibition, if you're excited about different artists and creatives in the community and you would love to bring them together and put together an exhibition in our space, then we welcome you to apply. And we do have a blog post up on our website where we talk through a little bit on what a rough gem is, but we're really open to anyone and everyone. The only parameters surrounding the program and eligibility for that are that you have to be 18 or older to apply. You have to be in the Denver area, maybe the metro area. We can or the Front Range. A little bit flexible, but we really want somebody who can be here in person for deinstallation, installation, for all the programs, and be able to easily come to the gallery when needed, because you are an intimate part of the planning process and um, part of yeah, putting together the exhibition and the programming throughout that exhibition span. So the Rough Gems program takes place every year from January through April. In 2025, it'll take place from January 16th, which is a Thursday, through Saturday, April 19th. And each exhibition is almost a month long. And we always do our openings on Thursdays and close on Saturdays. So the first exhibition will open on the 16th, span for about a month. The next one opens in end of February at some point, and the last one will open end of March. So that's what our timeline looks like. And we are, like I said, accepting applications through September 20th, 11:59 p.m. A little bit about the Rough Gems program. It is meant to be a collaborative program and also a resource for curatorial mentorship. So selected curators will work really closely with our chief curator, Esther Hernandez. She wasn't able to be on this info session, but she will be the main point person for selected curators. And we'll have a lot of back and forth, regular check-ins with them, assist with the planning process, provide some support throughout all of the exhibition planning, putting together a layout, putting together a budget. We really want to work on all of those different elements of the exhibition collaboratively. And really what we're asking for in this application is a general idea of the exhibition that you would like to put together, the concept for that show, along with the artists that will be involved, the potential artwork that you would like to showcase in the show, some ideas for supplementary programming, and we do ask in the application for a little bit of more context on other things. But we work collaboratively for the planning, the layout, the budget, the installation, and marketing, which Jess is our gallery and marketing manager, and she assists with all the marketing. She also is the person who is in the gallery during open gallery hours, which I will mention are Wednesday through Saturdays, 12 to 6 p.m. So, a little bit more about what Union Hall provides through this program. We provide curatorial stipends of $900 to each curator, and you can either apply as a solo curator or you can apply with one other curator. We do allow for up to 2 curators for each exhibition. We also allow for up to 6 artists per exhibition and provide artist stipends of $300 for each artist. We do encourage applicants to include a minimum of 2 artists in each exhibition. We really want to see how you can weave together different creatives in your exhibition concept. So really it's 2 to 6 artists is what we're looking for. These stipends are set amounts, so they're not flexible within the budget. This is just what we provide out of equity so that each curator and each artist is paid the exact same amount. And these, I will mention, with the use of the word stipend, we use that word. It is sort of like an honorarium, more so. Those amounts are meant to be used for your time and labor that you're putting into it and that the artists are putting into it, and not meant to be used for artist materials and other costs. All of those other costs we would want to have laid out in the budget. I will also mention that in our FAQs and in the application documents, we mentioned this as well, but we are discouraging new work at this time in those applications. So we're encouraging applicants to look at existing work when they're putting together their applications. Just given the timeline and the budget, we don't really have enough funding to give a ton of funding for artist materials. We don't want artists to be paying out of pocket for that. And also it's a really quick turnaround. We only have a few months to organize all 3 shows and only about a week in between each for deinstallation and installation. We're also, like I mentioned, offering curatorial mentorship, guidance, planning support, social media, marketing and press outreach. We work with a PR team. We assist with installation and deinstallation. We do want curators to be there throughout that process. But we also do have a great installation expert, Wyatt Scott, who's been working with us for all of our Rough Gem shows. And we also all assist from the Union Hall staff during installation period, but we want curators to be there for that process as well. You have access to all our installation tools and resources, access to vinyl exhibition text. We work with you to put that together and decide what font you want to use, what sort of design. And Jess usually has some back and forth with curators and with Esther, our chief curator, on what that vinyl text will look like. We put together exhibition guides and do all the printing for that. We hire a photographer for each show and make those photos available for curators and artists after the fact, as long as you credit the photographer if you share those photos at all. Full use of our facilities throughout that month span. So we have movable walls, we have furniture you can have access to, and also some different technology that you would have access to. That does include 2 projectors, along with, I think we have 3 TV screens at this point. And we also have a sound system and a mic, which is more available for supplementary programs. And that brings us to general support for supplemental programming events. In the application, we'll go over this later on, but we do ask for each curator to pitch, I think, 2 to 3 ideas for different supplemental programs and try and align that with your exhibition somehow. This could be a range of different things. Last year we did a book club. We did a comedy show for the show Laugh Lines. So just to give you an idea of how that can sort of be interwoven with the exhibition itself. We've done panel discussions in the past, different dance performances. So we're really open to a range of different types of programming, whatever is really exciting to you and you think would make sense within the context of your exhibition and the concept that you would like to see out in our space. And you also have access to staffing for the gallery during exhibitions open hours. Like I said, Jess is there during all of our open hours, as well as for supplementary programming. We have Union Hall staff there as well to assist with the planning process, the setup, the cleanup, all those things. All right, I think that's it for that. Here are, I guess I should check if anyone has questions. Well, we can check at the end. But yeah, just alert me, Jess, if there's any pertinent questions I should get to.
Yeah, none yet.
Okay, great. I'm just gonna run through really quickly some previous Rough Gem shows, just to show you some images from previous shows, but if this will let me move, okay. Yes, so these are just some images from previous Rough Gem shows. Our first shows opened up in January 2020. That was the first year that we had our Rough Gems exhibitions. And the next few slides, there are some sample images from different shows. I'm not going to go into too much detail with each of these, but what I will say is I would encourage each of you to take a look at our website. If you go to Rough Gems at the top drop down and go to the drop down to Rough Gems exhibitions, there's a lot more detail and sites for each of these different shows. And I think it's really helpful just to see the types of exhibitions that we're looking for, that we usually accept in the past. Reading through those curatorial statements, some of them are really lengthy. Usually we just ask in the application for a really short excerpt, and then we work with selected curators to expand that into a full curatorial text. So we will help selected curators and work through that with them. But I think it might just give you a good idea of what a curatorial statement looks like, what a concept could look like, and may gain a little knowledge on that front, and also be able to see the types of artists that we have in our show. This is more targeted towards emerging curators and artists. We know that that's a really broad term, so it might be helpful to look in the website at some of those previous exhibitions and see the types of artists that we're showcasing, though it is often a range between really emerging and some more established artists. So we are open to a range. Our shows from all of our previous years. really nice looking back. And this is the most recent year where we had dirty abstraction to offer to leave and then laugh lines. We do have a happy hour info session. We usually do that every year. This year it's scheduled for Wednesday, September 11th, 6 to 7:30 in our gallery space. So that info session is also really helpful if you have lingering questions closer to the deadline. If you'd like to see our space in person and you haven't seen it before, we're not available for individual tours, but we are hosting this happy hour as a way to see our space, walk around, ask individual questions with each of us. And we will also have some Rough Gems alumni who will be there. I believe both Kira and Jennifer from a previous year will be there. They'll be able to tell you a little bit about their exhibitions from last year and their experience with the Rough Gems program. So we're hoping that gives you a little bit of insight into the program from folks who have been through it. Great. So here is the application requirements and materials. I might just open up this document really quick. Let me see if there's any questions right now. I can get to them, some of these quickly. Yeah, the time for the happy hour is 6 to 7:30 p.m. and it's Wednesday, September 11th at Union Hall. Our address is 1750 Waywater Street. Our curator is expected to gather enough artists' work to fill the whole space. Yes, we do want you to be able to fill the whole space. We understand it might be challenging, so we do have some flexibility. What I will say is, and I do want to mention this just as a more general statement, for any applications that are selected, those are selected with a little asterisk that we will work with curators to fine tune things afterwards. So that means you may have to be a little bit flexible with certain things, but also on the flip side, we're really, and we still want it to come from the curators and to have it be their vision and their idea. But we will have some back and forth if you're unsure of how many works you need to fill the space, if you had a certain amount that you thought would fill it. And when you're going through the layout, you're realizing, oh, maybe we need 2 or 3 more works. That would be an opportunity to work with our chief curator, Esther, and talk through whether you want to reach out to some of those artists and see if they have 2 or 3 works that they could include in addition to what you already had planned, or if you want to add another artist entirely, if you only had 3 or 4 artists in the show that were in that initial proposal. So I just wanted to preface that. We are fairly flexible. Also, we have some furniture in our space, and occasionally, if we don't have enough work to completely fill the space, we might have a little corner where there's a seating area. If you just don't feel like you can fill it out enough, or if you'd like to have like a little seating area, if that feels good within the layout of your show. Well, the exhibition summary. No, so the what we're asking for as the blurb in the application in terms of the exhibition summary, that is not going to be the final summary that is on the website. Again, we'll have some back and forth, and we also usually ask curators to expand it a little bit and talk individually about each of those different artists and how all of that works together. That's why we left the word count in there. We do have a word count limit of 300 to 400 words, which we recognize is pretty short for a full curatorial statement. So really what we're looking for there is the general exhibition concept and how you feel like all these works work together. I'm gonna Yeah, these are all great questions. I might finish going over the application requirements and then I'll get to these questions right after that, just to make sure we have enough time to go through that as well. Awesome. Can you see this okay, Jess?
Yes, looks good to me.
Great. All right, I'll go through this quickly and then I'll get to all your questions. So this is the document that has all the information about what needs to actually be submitted for the application. We do have an FAQ page, so we do encourage applicants to take a look at that. And yeah, if you have any questions, look through that first. We are also available via email if you have any questions that I don't get to during this Q&A, or if there's something that comes up later on, feel free to send us an email. And here are all the requirements and materials. So first and foremost, we have that exhibition summary. Really, we just want to know, what is the show? What does it look like? What does it mean? So really mapping out, what's the general concept? What does it mean to you? Why do all these artists work together? If you feel like there's visual elements that are really important to detail out and important to us understanding the feeling of the show, you can include those as well. And yes, this is not the finalized curatorial statement. We do work with curators after they are selected to expand that quite a bit. Supplemental programming ideas. For each selected show, we do require selected curators to participate in a curatorial talk, which we work with them to schedule during the duration of their show. We usually approach those as more of a tour. And so it's more casual, it's standing room. We walk around, the curator has the opportunity to talk about all the artwork from their perspective and talk about the concept and what inspired them. And we feel it's really good practice for the curators to be able to have some experience talking about their exhibition concept. And there's always more that I learn, and I think that audience members learn when participating in that. We also, in addition to the curatorial talk, we ask for 2 to 3 programming ideas, aside from that curatorial talk, that may relate to the concept of the exhibition. I went through some of those potential examples previously. And we have a word count limit of 200 words. Don't feel like you have to totally map it out. Just a general idea of, I would love to do a performance as it relates to this element of the concept, or I want to do an artist workshop working with the X artist. So yeah, something pretty general, and just so we can get a sense of what that program is and how it relates to the show. DEIA, we have a brief question, 200 words on DEIA. We try to put some examples together of what that could include, but we really want to get a sense that as a curator, you are thinking through diversity, equity, inclusivity, and accessibility, and what that means to you. Featuring a diverse group of creatives and having some intersectionality within your show, taking accessibility needs into account. I think all of those things are really important to Union Hall and a part of our values. And we do think that curating with a lens of equity is really important. So any way that you're able to detail that out, we understand it might look different for every show. So whatever you feel like relates to your exhibition concept the closest. Curator bios, brief bio for the curator or curators who are working on the exhibition. You certainly don't need to use all 600 words, especially if it's just one curator. That's mainly if there's 2 curators, I would say you can keep it to like 300 words or so for each. Artist bios, similarly, you don't have to use that all if you have less than 6 artists, but yeah, just having a brief statement or bio from each of those artists. This is the big one, budgetary considerations. We do not require a official budget from each of the shows, and we work together with selected curators to create a budget. Once we are in communication with them, we provide set stipends for artist curators, any performers. We provide the marketing support, installation support. We cover all those other expenses. So really what we're looking for in this section, and I will say this section is not a requirement. So if you say, hey, none of this applies to me, I don't have any shipping costs, I don't think I'll need any additional costs, just feel free to skip it. This is mainly if you're going through planning the exhibition, if you have certain shipping costs, if you want additional costs for art transportation, like renting a truck for local transport. Maybe you want specific hardware for the installation of the show. Maybe you have specific technology or furniture that you need in the show, but you feel confident that you'll be able to borrow that from elsewhere, or you think it won't be too challenging to ascertain for the show. You can also mention that there, because sometimes if we're going through a show, we may not have that context for the actual when you're going through with the concept and the exhibition statement. So this is just a chance to be able to indicate some of those additional thoughts, ideas that you have. And additionally, for programming, if there's certain materials that you need, if you need performer stipends, even if you don't have the exact amounts, just saying, hey, I think I'm going to need some uh, paints and papers for this creative workshop that I want to do. I think just being able to have knowledge of that is really helpful. And we try and indicate here about what we might be able to afford in those different categories, just to give you a bit of an idea. For example, typically Union Hall can only budget up to $500 in shipping costs for each exhibition. So you are welcome to have some national artists in the show, but we do ask you to keep that in mind. We don't have a limit on the amount of national artists or the amount of works, because really a lot of this comes down to our budget. So if they're really light works and they're only shipping from Wyoming, then maybe you can have a little bit more work. But if it's a lot of really heavy work that you're trying to ship from New York or Mexico City or somewhere further away, that's something that we want to have some knowledge on and be able to have some back and forth on, and make sure that it's something we can accommodate within our budget. And we also want you to have an idea and be transparent about how much we can afford. So you have that knowledge base when you're looking at costs. You can also do quick searches sometimes in USPS, I believe, on their website. If you have just general cities or addresses and a general weight, you can sometimes be able to have at least an approximate amount for how much the shipping might be. Great. We also ask applicants to rank their time slot. We have 3 different time slots, and though we can't always accommodate your preferences, if you really prefer the first time slot or the second time slot, then we will try to see if selected, if we can make that happen. So you can always just say exhibition 1, exhibition 3, exhibition 2. That's my preferences. This gray section are the required attachments and supplemental links. So we do ask for curatorial CVs. So if you have a CV or resume, you can attach, and then 5 to 15 images of the proposed artist's work. So gathering some of those images, and we doing, if curators, if you're able to just reach out and have a preliminary conversation with artists and get any images of their work, that's usually really helpful, and also to make sure that it's available. A lot of times I know applicants will just, reach out to artists, keeping in mind that it's still in the application phase, but just so that they're aware that they're in that application, and to see what works they have available, I think is sometimes helpful. Submission format, we ask that all this is included in a PDF. And the design of it itself will not be considered by the jury or included as part of the review process. Just to put that in there, and it can be sent to info@unionhalldenver.org. We ask that you have the curator's last names and in the subject line, and submit it by Friday, September 20th, 2024 at midnight. We will respond with confirmation within 48 hours of you submitting your application. We ask that you don't check in via phone or email, because sometimes it might take us a little bit, but we will let you know once we've received it. And if you don't hear back in a few days, I would reach back out just to make sure that you didn't send it to the wrong email address. I will also note that it is .org, not .com. So that's one thing I'll make sure. And then also Union Hall Denver, not unionhall.org. Just little common mistakes. And we are hoping to send out notifications by early October. This may be the second week of October, so we're a small team, so just show us some grace and we'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. I think that's about it. I will get to some of these questions right now. Oh, okay. If new work wouldn't be at any, and I'll repeat these out loud. If new work wouldn't be at any extra cost to an artist, could they potentially make something new for the show, especially if they would make the work anyway? So I think in that circumstance, it is very dependent. I mean, I will say, like, if it's a site-specific installation that's very low cost, we don't have a hard and fast rule that absolutely no new work, but we are just heavily encouraging curators to try and stick to primarily existing work. I think as a matter of equity, we really don't want artists to be paying out of pocket or spending more time on materials and using their stipend for that. And I think, yeah, if it's no extra cost, I think that's something that we would potentially consider. And maybe that's something I think would be great to include in that budgetary section. That's another great place to say, indicate this show would not require any artist materials, and also that the work would actually not cost anything new. That it would be helpful to know. Another question, what, if any, requirements are there around the artist aside from two minimum? Do artists need to be Colorado local? Can textiles be mounted? Do you have mannequins for clothing, textile work? So artists don't need to be Colorado local. We do allow for national artists. Typically, I would say just given the shipping costs, unless the artists are driving into town anyway, or there's different extraneous circumstances. I think for the most part, we usually have at least half local, though sometimes we can afford shipping costs for 2 to 4 national artists. But again, our shipping budget is pretty low. So it really depends on the works that would be shipping in and how heavy they are. Can textiles be mounted? I think that would have to be something that Esther, our curator, might need to weigh in on in terms of the feasibility of that. But I think it's definitely something we could explore. Do you have mannequins for clothing and textile work? We don't have mannequins. But that is something that, perhaps we could, I feel like sometimes with those circumstances, as long as we are aware that you don't have mannequins personally, we could potentially look into buying some affordably, or borrowing some from another art institution. So that is something that we would consider.
Just to chime in real quick, Emma, we have done hanging or mounting textiles for Rep Gems shows with like Nate's show Made Known. Those
Yeah.
were like really long textiles that were really lightweight and like hung from our pipe grid. And then I think like depending on the weight too and the material, attaching it to the wall could also be an option, or hanging it from like a floor stand potentially. But yeah, definitely an Esther specific handling.
Yeah, so maybe we can follow up after that, after this with you, um, on the textile mounting. But yeah, I do think that it would be feasible, and a lot would come down to specifics in terms of, yeah, the weight of the textile and what the hanging mechanism would be. So, like just mentioned, we have done that previously, and I'm sure we could figure it out. We've done a range of different install, and we do have an installation expert there for each show, who has been, yeah, really helpful with figuring out great ways to install different work. Do you recommend reaching out to artists to show their work before finding out if the exhibition is accepted? I would recommend this. I think that it's great just to reach out and let them know that you're submitting, to make sure that the work in that proposal, and the images that you're including are actually available. And I think it might help as well just to have some back and forth with them, learn more about the work, and maybe get some better images that you could include in the proposal. So I do think if you are able to, that's usually helpful to have just a preliminary email to those artists. Should we speak to artists before submitting, or can we make a note of that? Make a note that part of our pitch is to reach out to those artists. Oh yeah, so very similar. I would recommend at least sending them an email to give them a heads up, because I think they would probably like to know that they're included in that proposal. So yeah, I would probably recommend just shooting them an email and letting them know. I will say as well though, if there are specific works that aren't available, or that, an artist, you reach out to an artist and they weren't able to get back to you before you submitted, we can certainly have a little bit of back and forth. If there's, yeah, things that come up and there's a specific work that isn't available, but there's a similar one that is available. The images in the application need to be the specific works that will end up in the exhibition. Can we include a selection of the artist's work that is available and could end up in the show? Yeah, so yeah, along the same line as the other ones, as the other questions. So the images don't have to be the specific works, but I would get as close to that as you can. It is really helpful just for us to be able to visualize the show and have an understanding of what it would look like aesthetically. So again, even though there's a little bit of flexibility there, if there's just an image, if you're not able to get an image of a specific work, but there's one that's more similar, then yeah, we can have some back and forth on that, if that specific work isn't available. But we really encourage applicants to try and think through the specific works that might be in that show.
Also, just one example of like a different scenario relating to this. Kaya Butcher's show, Object Empathy, she had a work from that was loaned to her for her exhibition from a collector, I believe, right? And I don't know, Emma, how close of a relationship she had with that collector or how that worked out exactly, but I guess that's a different way of looking at if a work is available or not, or like if an artist is represented by a gallery as well. That
Yeah.
might look a little different.
Yes, that's a great point. Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Yeah, okay. Feel free to ask ask any other questions in there. I'm just gonna loop back to our presentation really quick. Might take me a minute. Alrighty. Great. Well, really quick, I just wanted to go over what are some of the things that we're considering in the review process. So certainly this aesthetic and conceptual appeal. So I think that's why having as much knowledge as possible of the works that might be included in the show, I think really helps us have more of a sense of what that aesthetic aspect of the show is going to look like. And the value of the concept that you've come up with. We are also valuing inclusivity and accessibility, and whether shows align with their DEI goals. So that's why we include that question on there to give you a chance to talk about that as it relates to your show. We are considering the supplementary programming that you are pitching and its alignment with the exhibition that you're doing. We do like to see some sort of alignment or relevancy to the exhibition concept. And feasibility. So we do consider whether the exhibition feels realistic given the timeline of the program, given the budget of the program. So yeah, we do have some flexibility. We do want to give applicants a chance to pitch us exciting ideas. But we do also want you to know that this is part of our review process, and we will consider additional costs and some more challenging installs. But also keep in mind that we have a really small team. It's just myself, Jess, and our curator, Esther. We have one install person that helps us with the installation, but the installation period is pretty quick. It's about a week turnaround, a little less than that for the installation itself, and we have a few days for deinstallation. So yeah, just keeping those things in mind as you're pitching ideas for an exhibition. Because sometimes we're, yeah, really excited about shows, but there's just no way that we could do it within the timeline that we have. I also do want to share our layout of our gallery. This is available on our website on the application page, I believe. If you go to Rough Gems dash application, the website that's on the right here, and scroll down, you can find the link to this layout. You are not required to have a layout set for the show. You will work with our chief curator, Esther, in creating one of these layouts. But I think it does give you a great sense of how large our space is and how much wall space we have. The primary entrance on the top left, those are sliding glass doors. So that is not wall space. We usually need a space for the reception desk towards the front of the space. We have bench seating in the back. And then we have these two modular L-shaped walls that can be moved around our space, but they cannot leave our space. So you will need to include those when thinking through a layout. And we have one projector, which is not movable. And then we have another one that we can move to anywhere in the space. So yeah, we encourage you to take a look at this layout just as you're thinking through how much artwork you might want to include. And we would also encourage you to attend our happy hour or come by the gallery during open gallery hours just to be able to take a look around, see the space. Our next exhibition opens next Thursday, August 22nd. We have an opening 6 to 8 p.m. and we will be open after that Wednesdays through Saturdays. Again, here's all the deadline information, where you can submit it to, notifications sent out in early October. So yeah, just this info again. And then info on the happy hour that's happening in a few weeks. And yeah, just another chance for you to come by, see the space, talk to us in person, and be able to ask some more questions once it's a little closer to the deadline. So those are application details. I will take another look. Questions. Can you share a little more on the installation process? Are curators responsible for the full installation of works, or is there a little install team for support? So we do have support from the Union Hall staff as well as one install person. We're a pretty small space, about 1,700 square feet, I believe. So we don't have a full installation team on staff, but usually we have about 3 or 4 days for deinstallation of the previous show, and then we'll start installation on like the Thursday or Friday of the week before the show, and have that whole weekend before and the week of to do installation for the exhibition, and then we open that following Thursday. So that's usually the timeline that we're looking at, and then Esther will work with our install support and with the Rough Gems curator to find some days that work for them. Usually we try and do the bulk of the install in 1 to 2 full days at the gallery. And then we have a few hours afterwards that you might have to be available for some fine tuning, the lighting in our space, and yeah, just making sure everything is good to go. And in terms of support from us, the people who are there most often are Wyatt, our install lead, and Esther, the curator on our team. And then Jess and I help intermittently with some install things. But we do expect Rough Gems curators to be a part of the whole process. For the not included rectangles on the right of the gallery map, are the walls on the outside of those rectangles available for hanging things or having tables in front of? So let me see if I can move back a little bit. So yeah, you're talking about, oh my goodness. The Xed out portions that say not a part of Union Hall's exhibition space. So that space is the storage room for another retail space in the building. And then the other one, the small rectangle, is our little kitchenette area. We just have like a teeny little area where some of our tech is and where we have a fridge and a sink, and then that hallway. So we can't have any artwork in the hallway or on the exterior because that opens up into the hallway in the building itself. But on the left-hand side of that rectangle, you can use both. You can use that wall where that projector is aiming, where that arrow goes to. That whole wall is usable for hanging works. On the lower rectangle on the left-hand side, I will mention that wall is usable, but there are some tech boxes and things on the wall, so it's usually not the best for hanging artwork. So I probably wouldn't count to have artwork hung on the left side of that, but sometimes we'll have floor work in that little back right corner. And hopefully that's helpful. And again, yeah, definitely feel free to come by the space and get a better sense. I know it's sort of hard looking at this to be able to visualize what all this looks like. But I would say the top wall is usable to hang work. Where both of the arrows where they're pointing to, those walls are usable. There are windows on the bottom part of this. And so you can use some of those walls that jut out a little bit. And then the 3 indents are windows. And then you can use all of the L-shaped walls. Great. Does anyone else have any other questions? Do you have anything else to add on that, Jess?
Do we want to mention the movable panel walls?
All right, I totally forgot. We have movable panel walls. Yeah, we have, in addition to these L-shaped walls, we do have these panels that are in our storage unit, just a short walk from our gallery space. And they are, I don't know the exact dimensions of those. It might be on the website as well, but also if you are curious about using them, feel free to shoot us an email at info@unionhalldenver.org and we can get back to you with those dimensions. But I think maybe 3 or 4 feet across, right, Jess? And
Yeah, I think it's like 4.5, 5 feet across, 9 feet tall.
okay, and they're basically floor to ceiling panels that we can bring into the space. They have they can hook onto the pipe grid, which is on our ceiling, and then there's suction cups on the bottom to be flush to the, well, not totally flush, but the legs at least on the floor. And it is more of a fabric material. So those can be used in our space potentially for different shows, but you can only use either pins or nails in it. And it has like a self-healing property. So we can use those and then the fabric is still okay, but we can't really screw anything in or hang anything heavy. If you had photography, for example, something like that, we can bring in one or more of those walls if you're interested in, yeah, having some more walls in the space. Great. Anything else I'm missing, Jess?
I don't think so. I don't know if I missed the part about the jury this year. I don't remember if you touched on that a little more.
No, we have not touched on that yet. We do have a jury. We started a juried review process last year, and we will have a jury again this year. We haven't yet announced who will be on the jury. We're hoping to have some bios up on our website, but we bring in several community members. I believe we have 4 different community members with curatorial expertise, one of whom is a former Rough Gems curator who will be reviewing applications. And we also have some Union Hall staff and board who will be in the review process as well. But it is we're trying to make it a really community-driven and equitable process. So we have rubrics and we'll look through all the proposals and reach some decisions as a group. Oh, that is a great point. So, a curator, the question is, could a curator be an artist in the show? The answer to that is no. That is one of the only eligibility guidelines that we have, because we're really trying to focus on curatorial experience and wanting to help folks with organizing the exhibition itself. We don't accept applicants who are also artists in the show. So if you're a curator, you can't be an artist and vice versa. Great. Well, I'll just hang out for another minute or two in case anybody thinks of any other questions. But like I said, we are available if you have questions via email. If they're easy questions, we can get back to you on those. And then, yeah, if you have more questions that come up, we have that happy hour that will be coming up in a few weeks. No worries at all. We love answering all the questions, and we're really happy that you all are able to be here. And I think it's helpful to, yeah, ask the questions and get more of a sense of what the application process is like and what the program is like. We know it's not a typical program, and that's why we wanted to create it, to be able to provide something specific to curators, which we really hadn't seen elsewhere. At least nothing that is more targeted towards more emerging curators or people interested in organizing exhibitions. Where can we find the recording? You will be able to find the recording on our YouTube channel, which I believe is Union Hall Denver. Do you have any more information on that, Jess?
Yeah, it's gonna be linked directly onto our website to tomorrow. It should be pretty quick for me to get it uploaded to YouTube, and then I'll link it on the website. Our YouTube link is also in the footer of our website. So if you want to go back, it should be available tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. And then how much curatorial experience is expected? We do not require any curatorial experience. I think that's a really important part of the program, is that we are by no means looking specifically for people who have experience curating shows. And that's not a requirement in terms of looking at your CV. We want the proposals to be able to speak for themselves. And if it's a really solid exhibition concept, then we will hopefully accept it regardless. Another question, I know Union Hall is non-commercial, but I am also wondering if curators can use this opportunity to try and sell available works to collectors. Thank you. Yes, so we are not a commercial gallery, and even though we don't facilitate sales ourselves, mainly because we don't have the bandwidth at the moment, we don't accept any commission for any work sold in our space. So if curators do want to have make it clear that certain works are available for purchase, we can sometimes have the pricing in that gallery guide for visitors to the space to be able to see that. If you want to do some outreach to potential clients, we just don't know if we'll have the capacity to do outreach to clients and help facilitate those sales. But with any works, if anybody's interested in purchasing a work that is in our space, we simply connect the potential buyer with the artist, and they can coordinate on their own, and they keep 100% of the proceeds. Can the artworks be a mix of contemporary and historical? For example, pieces from multi-generational artists that show the evolution of the craft over time? Absolutely. Yes. I think we would definitely be interested in that. We're definitely open to different types of artwork, different mediums as well. So yeah, and it sounds like an exciting idea. What does the connection between the curator and Union Hall look like after Rough Gems? That's a great question. So at this point, I think we've worked with 18 curators over the past 5 years. So we're really excited that we now have a cohort of alumni, and we're hoping to, in 2025, be able to start doing more alumni programming. We still, up until this point, have certainly stayed in touch. If we see curatorial opportunities in the community, we do some outreach to them. We've sometimes, yeah, worked with previous Rough Gems curators in other events and other shows, and love to stay in touch with them, but hoping to maybe have some more like formalized happy hours and get a sense of whether that's of interest to alumni, to have some more opportunities for alumni to connect. We also want to do a good job of connecting Rough Gems curators and alumni with other curatorial opportunities in the community. So, for example, we have a blog post that we do annually, I believe, maybe biannually, I'm not sure, with creative opportunities for curators specifically.
Yeah, a lot of those opportunities are recurring. So I believe the blog was posted, oh my gosh, late last year, early this year. But it's a really extensive list on our website blog of curatorial opportunities for new, emerging, and established curators just in Colorado, the state of Colorado, taking place in the state. And we even worked with Alejandra Abad, who was an artist in a 2021 Rough Gem show. She designed our Rough Gems t-shirts, which we have for sale at the gallery and online.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have definitely, I guess, yeah, to answer your question, we definitely stay in touch with both curators and artists afterwards, after the Rough Gems program ends, and we're hoping to include more alumni programming in the future.
So many great questions this year.
I know. Yeah, thank you all for being here and being interested in applying for Rough Gems. We hope you all apply. It's definitely a really important program to us, and we have such a great experience with it every year, being able to work with the curators and the artists. It's really fun to be able to bring new shows into our space and new ideas, and be able to really turn over the gallery space to other people, and have it be a resource for the community. So yeah, it's exciting for all of us.
Oh, I guess Emma, also our 5-year anniversary show, which had some Rough Gems applicants and then former Rough Gems artists. And were there curators in there too as artists?
Yeah, Nadia
I can't remember off
was
the top of my head.
an artist in the show. Yeah, so sometimes
Yeah,
we
there we
have
go.
curators and Robert Martin as well. They curated a show for us, for the Rough Gems program in 2020, and then we had a gap between chief curators, and they guest curated a show in 2022, I think,
Yeah,
us,
yeah,
which was really great to work with them again, have that opportunity.
yeah. And they did like contracted installation support and program support.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. I don't know if we'll do another anniversary show in the future, hopefully. But we just had this year's our 5-year anniversary, and we had a 5-year anniversary exhibition that Esther curated and put a call out to all the artists and curators that Union Hall has ever worked with. So the 5-year anniversary exhibition ended up having 10 artists and former curators, one from the Rough Gems program, who showcased artwork in the show.
Yeah, really great. Awesome. Thank you. Um, yeah, we really appreciate you all being here, and asking so many great questions. I think we'll wrap things up, and give you an extra half an hour. We just wanted to leave a lot of time in case there were yeah, tons of questions that took a while to get through, but thank you all again. We hope that you do apply for Rough Gems, and yeah, we're available over the next month if you have any questions or concerns that come up, or think of anything specific to the exhibition that you want a little bit more context for. So, yeah. All right. Well, have a good evening. Thank you all again.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.